so few people ask questions about yourself? Now, this is a topic that I've been very curious to explore myself. I have found that there are people you can engage with, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even an hour can go by, and they never ask you a single question. And I've had people in my life say to me, like, what is happening, Colleen? Like, do people not take interest in others anymore? I recently came across this article written by David Brooks. He is one of my favorite columnists, writes for the New York Times, best-selling author. He's also featured on PBS NewsHour. And he wrote this article, How to Be Human. And I want to share a portion before we dive in. Let's grab a cup of coffee. Let's enjoy, sit back, relax. Here we go. So what David shares is this. I learned that living in a detached way is a withdrawal from life, an estrangement, not just from other people, but also from yourself. Being open-hearted is essential for being a full, kind, and wise human being, but is not enough. People need social skills. The real process of, say, building a friendship or creating a community involves performing a series of small, concrete actions well, being curious about other people, disagreeing without poisoning relationships, revealing vulnerability at an appropriate pace, being a good listener, knowing how to ask for and offer forgiveness, knowing how to host a gathering where everyone feels embraced, knowing how to see things from another's point of view. People want to connect. Above almost any other need, human beings long to have another person look into their faces with love and acceptance. The issue is that we lack practical knowledge about how to give one another the attention we crave. Some days it seems like we have intentionally built a society that gives people little guidance on how to perform the most important activities of life. So all I have to say is amen, hallelujah. Thank you so much, David Brooks, for writing this article. He also has a new book out called How to Know a Person. David goes on to share in his article that about 30%, he believes, of people worldwide are good question askers. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than 30%, but in my experience, engaging with people, it's just surprising. How few people ask questions. I was really interested in diving into this topic. If people have this desire to connect, as David suggested, we're wired for connection. We thrive when we're interacting with others, when we feel supported and seen and loved and heard. Why are we having such challenges with conversation? I'd love to hear from you. If you're someone who is always asking the questions, you're the one who's carrying the weight of conversations, what do you think is happening? And then conversely, if you're someone who really has a desire for deeper, more meaningful relationships, but maybe you're hesitant about asking questions, what is holding you back? And so let's dive into these three reasons that I have come up with based on research I've done, my experience as a coach, HR professional, someone who is fascinated by people. So reason number one, people may be diminishers. Let me explain. In David Brooks' article, How to Be Human, he talks about the fact that there are diminishers and there are illuminators. If you are engaging with a diminisher, they are constantly talking about themselves, what they've done, where they've gone, who they've seen. It can be a lot of drama. They may be critical, like, oh, have you packed on a few pounds? What's up with your hair? Look at your outfit. These are people who cause us to feel exhausted. They dim our light. We feel less than. Or we just feel like they don't give a you-know-what about us. They're just talking. We could be making funny faces and they don't even know, that we're there. In contrast, illuminators are those people who have an insatiable curiosity about others. They want to know your story. They make you feel good about yourself. They could compliment you. They see your potential. They want to know what makes you tick. These people, as David Brooke shares, are a joy to be around. Energy is contagious. I think about diminishers as energy vampires. These are the people where you literally feel like you need to take a nap. It's just exhausting being around them. And why are people diminishers? Well, there could be a number of different reasons. They may be true narcissists. They could be dealing with a complete lack of self-awareness. Maybe they didn't receive a lot of attention and love as a child, and so they're just desperate to receive it from others. And so I think it is important to understand when you're engaging with a person, are they more of a diminisher or are they more of an illuminator? And we really have to let go of expectations of people. So if you are dealing with a me, myself, and I type person, they could change. You could tell the person, hey, I would love to share more about what's happening in my life. Or, hey, just curious, you tend to talk a lot about yourself. Would you be interested in learning more? And just see how that comes across with a diminisher. Depending on where they are in their personal development journey, it may or may not be received well. And I think it's important too to also determine, how are you showing up in relationships? Are you someone who is putting in the work? You're doing your part. You're carrying weight. It's a give and take. Or are you someone who shows up and is like, hey, what's up? And you're just expecting the other person to do all the work in the conversation. So it's important to have this self-awareness and this situational awareness engaging with others. So the second reason why someone may not ask you a lot of questions is because they could be dealing with social anxiety. I had such a learning experience a number of years ago when a neighbor, call him John, not his real name, opened up about his social anxiety because I was so perplexed. I would see John out in the yard. We would chit-chat, friendly. Then I would see John at the local coffee shop or at the grocery store, and it was like he didn't even know me. I'd be like, hey, John, how was your weekend? I'd be like, hi. I was like, what is happening here? I don't know. He's like a different person. And so one day John opened up and he said that he experiences a lot of fear leaving his home, simply going out into the world, getting his groceries, buying a cup of coffee is terrifying for him. We didn't go into a lot of details as to why this was the case. If he opens up at some point, I would love to hear more. But what I realized is that John and I go out into the world with a very different view. I leave my house, I'm like, oh, who am I going to meet today? What are some fun conversations I'm going to have? I can't wait to see what happens. And granted, there are days where I may feel off or I'm tired or I have time constraints. But for the most part, I really enjoy meeting people, including strangers. And then you contrast my viewpoint of going on the world with John's. He's thinking, oh my, I have to go to the grocery store. How can I do this? What's on my list? Okay, I'm going to quickly go in. I'm going to go out. Okay, I saw Colleen. Hi, he may have acknowledged me, but he's like, I just want to get home as quickly as possible. So I think when we encounter people who are very different, we need to seek to understand them more versus quickly dismiss them or judge them or think, oh, what's wrong with him? Why is he so shy or nerdy, or why can't he make eye contact? Whatever person in your life, you're just wondering, they're so different. Well, they could be dealing with some challenges. And so that awareness is really important, and just offering kind of empathy and compassion, to all the different types of people who are on their journey. So the third reason someone may not be asking you a lot of questions is because they're overwhelmed. They are in survival mode. So I'll give you an example. I have a friend who is raising 3 little humans along with her husband, and she said, Colleen, from the time I get up to the time my head hits the pillow, I do not stop moving. I am going to the grocery store, I'm doing the laundry, I'm cleaning, I'm taking my kids to school, I'm taking them to their sporting events. And what I appreciate about my friend is she was so honest, because we went through a period where months had gone by and we had not connected. We live in different states, and she said, Colleen, I think about you, but I am so exhausted by the end of the day, I don't have energy for a conversation. I totally can relate. When I am in back-to-back meetings with people and giving them my full attention, I don't always have energy to engage in a conversation. But what I know about this friend is, even if long stretches of time can go by, we will pick up that phone 2 hours later. I feel like we are connected. We just picked up where we left off. And that really is a true friend. So I would really be considerate of what is happening in someone's life. Are they dealing with this busyness? Are they struggling with something that happened personally? Are they feeling stressed about work? Like, it's really hard to give to others when we're feeling depleted. So there are times I know in relationships where maybe I carry more of the weight because I do have more to give, or conversely, maybe a friend is able to carry a bit more if I'm struggling. And so relationships are really about give and take, and this understanding, as I mentioned, as to what is happening. So I wanted to make this video for anyone who has been wondering, are people not interested in me? Am I boring? Do people not want to get to know me? Why do I feel like I'm being rejected? No, it's not you. As David Brooks shared in his article, we're not taught basic social skills. We don't know when it's appropriate to ask a question, when it's not appropriate. And so we're all kind of figuring out the messiness of life, and we don't always get it right. So I would encourage you to get out there, to take baby steps, and know people have such a strong desire to connect. Not everyone, I want to be clear, not everyone, but most people would love if you took the time to simply bear witness to who they are. And I'm going to end with a quick story. So this week I attended meditation. I was leaving after the meditation. There's a guy in the hallway, and he turns to me and he's like, "Hi, what is your name?" And I was a little taken aback, because I feel like in this day and age, like, we rarely ask people their name, especially strangers, like, my name's Colleen, what's your name? And we had this lovely conversation. I asked this individual, I said, what brought you to meditation? And he said, I was really struggling as a young adult, and yoga and meditation helped me tremendously. And in that moment of vulnerability, there was a connection. It wasn't, how's the weather? How are you? Right? It wasn't this superficial type of conversation that we often engage with. I was fully present to him being vulnerable. And I said, you know what? I can relate to what you're sharing. So know that connection means taking risks. Not everyone will receive you positively and warmly, but in my experience, I've found that most people are so incredibly delightful. Most people have such amazing stories to share, and most people would love to just ask them a few questions about how they're doing, what's new, what's exciting in your life, what are you working on, what do you hope to learn. So I'm going to end on that note. Would love to hear from you. How are you engaging with the world? What are some questions you would like to ask people? So thanks so much, and stay tuned for the next video.